Welcome to It's All Fine and Dangy, where we talk about community, health, culture, and all of the big and little things that make life good. Here are your hosts, Dan and Angie.
Hey guys, and welcome to episode 87 of the It's All Fine and Dangy podcast. Today we have an especially exciting podcast because our guest is a local author. And because
that always gets you excited.
I know it does. Well, you know what? I get excited for all of our guests, but because I'm also a local author, having a fellow local author on is very exciting for me. I know I say this every time too. I can't believe episode 87.
I know. It's getting up there. We're nearing that 100, that special episode.
You know, one day I'm going to look back when we're at like episode 500 and say, how silly was it for me to be so excited that we're on episode 87?
Hey, gotta keep it going.
That's right. But anyway, without further ado, let's bring Scott in. So Scott Stevens is a local author. That's who we're interviewing today. Don't ask me how I didn't say Scott's last name, the intro here or the interview. I've known Scott for some time. In any case, Scott Stevens, let's jump back in. Scott is a local author of multiple books, including some nonfiction and some fiction titles. He's going to tell us all about that. And here he is. Let's bring him in. Hi, Scott. How are you today?
Hi, how's it going?
Hello, hello. Dan's in charge of bringing you in because he's in charge of all the technical stuff. So
yes, no pressure.
No pressure at all. So how are you today on this lovely Sunday when we are recording?
Very good, very good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. This is very cool. I'm always happy to talk to you and also, you know, to talk to a fellow author. Before we get into talking about your books and stuff, which we're excited to talk about, we like to do this with all of our guests. I'd kind of like to know a little bit about you in general, like your personal life, maybe where you grew up, your family, some stuff that you want to share.
I grew up in New York City.
Oh, very nice.
And,
like in the city?
Yeah, in Queens.
Oh, and, wow.
Actually, my latest thriller is based there, and it was a lot of fun because I got to relive a lot of those places.
Oh, yeah. I bet it's geographically correct, too. That's always a challenge.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not like a problem.
Yeah.
But, I grew up there. I've been in Florida for, I don't know, over 30 years at this point. I can't even keep track anymore.
Oh, you're a local now, yeah.
Yes. Been down here for a long time. Love it here. The things going on in the news recently make it a little embarrassing from time to time.
Yeah, you know
what?
Well,
Florida's known for that, aren't we?
As our friend Carlos Navarro said, I love that about Florida. I love that it's always Florida man or some crazy thing, you know. You just got to embrace it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
funny.
Maybe it makes people not want to move here and we have more room. That's
maybe.
Or they want to come and check out the spectacles that are going on. I don't know.
Very true.
I like the bumper sticker I see every once in a while. It says, "Welcome to Florida." Now turn around and go home.
Oh, nice. Very nice. So what brought you here, though? What made you move? Because that's a bit of a culture change.
My first trip down was I was going to University of Miami as a freshman. I didn't stay all that long. I got hurt, and then I was playing baseball at the time. But
I was going to ask you.
I didn't even actually make the first team. I got hurt before we actually took the field, so it happened, but it really didn't. You know, it was.
Oh no,
the timing was bad. Yeah, and so I went back up north, and I went to school. I got a degree in broadcasting, and I started a radio sportscasting career. I did for a long time.
Oh, that's very cool. I'm surprised you don't do a podcast.
Yeah, I could, but I don't. See, you guys love that. I don't.
You got burned on it. Yeah, I got you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I came back down to Florida for a job, and I pretty much never left. I left, a couple times. I'd go to stations around the country, but I always came back to Florida. And then,
gotcha.
The last time I came back, I don't even remember where it was. I've never left. So.
You just stayed like so many people do. They come down on vacation and then it's like they live here.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
I transferred. I kind of transferred over from the broadcasting to writing. I was writing while I was doing the broadcasting, and then once I went exclusively to writing, I could do that from home, and I didn't have to travel and go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So is that when you discovered that love of writing, or was it earlier when you were younger? Like, I'm just always curious when it kind of came to you that, oh, I want to be a writer, or, oh, I think I'd be really good at this.
It was strictly a money thing, and
Okay.
and because when I was broadcasting, I always, one of the first things I did when I went to a new station in a new city was I hooked up with the local newspaper because their sports sections always covered the games that I was broadcasting. So I figured really early on in my career, if I'm already at the game, why shouldn't I write an article and get paid again after I get paid for broadcasting the game? And
Smart.
yeah, so it worked out really well, and it was a lot of fun, and so I started to do that mainly because I could get paid twice, and then the more the more I did it, the better I became, and then eventually when I just started writing only, I was doing a lot of work for online sports magazines and different things like that.
Oh,
Wow.
that's cool. So that's a different type of writing because it's, it's factual. It's a lot of stats and stuff like that you're, putting into that writing.
Yeah.
So I'm curious when you kind of transition to that more fiction, or, had the concept of writing a fiction book.
Because that's a big difference. I mean, I've been in IT for 30 years and I've written technical stuff my whole life, but I write fiction too. And that's a huge difference. What made you switch?
The switch was kind of an evolution. I was getting paid for the sports writing and not getting paid for the first book, which I did was on ice. That was 3 years in the making because, I wasn't really an author at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I had written down kind of a basic outline of an idea that I had, and I was talking to an editor for one of the online sports magazines I was working for, and told him the idea that I had, and he goes, "Oh my God, that's great! You should turn it into a novel." And I said, "Yeah, how?"
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, I
the
can
first question.
so relate to that.
And he didn't know, so he was no help.
Yeah.
But it was funny.
He just encouraged you. He gave you the little, go do it.
He did, and he would once a week. He would ask me every week, did you work on it at all? Did you work on it at all? So it was kind of funny because he didn't know, and I finally started putting the story together, and it was just a story I had in my mind. I like fiction. I love movies, and I'm a big movie buff. But one of the things that bugs me is when I see something and right away I say that could not happen. It has to be a plausible story, and so I kept that in mind as I was writing on ice the first time. And the first draft wasn't very good. I had all kinds of scenarios that were way outlandish, and I should have myself looked at it and said, no, that can't work.
Well, you know what? That's one of my favorite Stephen King's quotes where he says, and it's a curse word, so I'll clean it up here, but he says, every first draft is crap. And he's talking about his own stuff too. I think as a writer, that is so true. We hate to hear it, but the art has to be refined to be the final product that we want. But back to something for a minute, because you said you're a big movie fan. I was going to ask you where you get your inspiration for your stories. Is it often driven by a movie that you see that maybe doesn't go the way you thought or isn't plausible? Does that give you your ideas, or what is your inspiration for your stories?
I get a lot of ideas from watching movies of ways that I think they could have gone and should have gone.
Yeah.
I have not yet turned one of those ideas into a book yet, though. I have a folder on my computer filled with ideas of things that I can do, but I've not
Yes.
done it that way. The books that I have released have all been, every one of them really have been something that I've witnessed in person. And
wow.
The like Twister Town, the town set that set in Twister Town, I actually visited that town. I gave it a fictional name in the book, but the town really exists, and the people in that town really believe a tornado cannot hit them. And I was there, and I experienced it, and it was crazy to me. It's still crazy to me to think about. But that's where I got that idea.
Wow.
On the Run, the idea came from watching people at an art festival, coming in and out of the tents and coming up with ideas. So mostly, they're just things I see, and I'll jot it down, and then what'll happen? What's really cool, and it happened with Twister Town, is that I'll have a basic idea of a story, and then I'll have a dream, and the dream fills the rest of the notes in. I can't really.
Oh wow!
But Twister
That's
Town,
a true creative right there.
It really
true
is.
creative.
I always said Twister Town is such a good example because I had that town that I visited, and I never forgot that experience.
Yeah.
Tornado sirens are going off. I'm running for the bathtub trying to find a mattress, and people are not paying attention to it. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen.
That happened in real life?
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
and
Yeah,
never,
that does seem like it needs to be turned into a story because it seems unfreaking real.
Right. And I had never forgot that. And then one day I woke up and I had a dream about the rest of the story, which I don't want to give away.
Of course.
And it just meshed together perfectly. And I wrote that in about 3 months.
Whoa.
Oh, I love that. Because so two things, I guess. We talk about a story inspiration. You talk about getting it from dreams. I do that too. I also, maybe similar to you, just driving down the road, I'll see something and I'll think there's more to that scene we just passed. Yeah. And it gets the gears going. And then I have a cheat because Angie sometimes will come to me with an idea for a story or an idea for a plot point in a story I'm on. So I jokingly say she's my muse because sometimes I'm like, that's really good. And I'll take a note and then I'll use that. So do you find that, experiences with people? Because it's I don't know if it's a common thing, but some of my favorite authors like Chuck Palahniuk will talk about how throughout his life, everyone he meets or people he observes, he's taking notes for character traits for a character or an event. It sounds very similar to what you're saying you do with your real life experiences.
I don't, on a daily basis, I don't write the notes down, but I keep them up here.
Yeah.
And I do. I don't know what it is about me, but it seems no matter where I go, I meet the most, the smartest, stupidest, highly intelligent, lowly intelligent. I mean, every walk of life, no matter where I go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting. We could say the most interesting people, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. It's crazy. All walks of life. And I'm always making notes. I'm like, that's a good character. That's a good character. I
love that.
Yeah.
when
you have those like folders in your head. A very eclectic folder, system.
If it's a really good one, as soon as I get home, I write it down on my computer.
Oh, that's great. So you don't forget those details, or they don't get lost in everything else that you've kind of got stored for future stories.
I've always been a people watcher. And it's what I like to do is if you see two people having a conversation, but you can't really hear them, I like to make up my own conversation. And I'll get stories.
You know what? That's the mind of an author, though. When you talk about watching people going in and out of tents, that's the mind of an author to always observe society. Things I think a lot of people just overlook where you just watch the strange behaviors of people in general. Yeah. It's interesting. So I was going to ask you also what your story building process is. There's always, you're writing thrillers, so there's typically an ending that's unexpected or a scenario in the book that's unexpected somewhere. Do you map all this out or do you just sort of have it in your brain and just go for it and then just keep refining it? Do you draw a chart? Do you do an Excel spreadsheet? I'm just always curious what the actual story building process is for fellow writers.
Mine is different than most, and I think we've you and I have talked about this in some of the author
workshops.
Done, What I do is I have the ending of the story, and then I'm like, okay, that's a cool story. Now we got to put an actual story in front of it. So I'll come in the beginning. And usually that needs to be reworked, 3 or 4 different times.
Sure.
I get it right. And then the whole middle of the plot, though, I really, when I start, I really don't know how it's going to go. I know, at first I know the ending, then I come up with the beginning, but I have no idea how it's going to get there. And that actually, I think, is a benefit because as I'm writing, it's funny on my Word documents, I never really sit down and outline an entire story. What I do is it plays out in my head, and as I'm typing it out, all of a sudden I'll unfold 3, 4, 5 scenes ahead, and so I'll go down to the bottom of my document and write it down And so I'll outline probably 4 or 5 chapters at a time ahead.
Wow.
Nice.
But never really any further than that, because I never know, where the story's going to. There's a perfect example is in my latest thriller, Deadly Roses. There's a scene at inside the Lincoln Tunnel, or the Holland Tunnel, I can't remember, one of the tunnels in New York City, and I didn't know that was coming. As I was writing that chapter, it's just how the chase played out, and it's got a little bit of comedy as they enter the tunnel. But I had no idea they were going there.
Wow.
It just kind of unfolded that way, and that's the way all of my books are.
Yeah, we have talked to a few authors that kind of roll like you do. Like that's their process, where the story, they don't even know where you don't know where your own story is going to take you. Like, I think we had one, was it MJ, who talked about, he didn't know that this character was going to do this.
Yeah.
And I just thought, that is just such great imagination when you can't you don't even know what your own character is going to do, but you're so enthralled right at that moment with that writing process that it just comes to life.
I can so relate. I have the same thing where I have characters where you develop enough of their personality and you know where the story is generally going, but the same as you, I'm a little more meticulous about mapping it out because I'm OCD, but there are things that happen sometimes in the book that change some of the plans I had because I didn't know that was going to happen, or I didn't know the character was going to do that. But I love the way that I'm just thinking as an author here, but I love the way that you are writing your chapter and you get ideas and you just kind of scroll down and plug that in below so you can get to it. That's a really cool idea, I think, for authors in general to kind of consider, where instead of going and taking a separate note, just drop it at the bottom of your document, because maybe that's what's going to come up when you get down to that chapter or the next chapter. That's
pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I do is I do, a lot of people compare my style of writing to James Patterson. And
yes.
I think one of the reasons for that is he likes to work with the short chapters, and I do as well. So when I'm doing that, I know the chapter I'm working on is going to end soon. So this way, by jotting down those notes at the bottom of a document, I seamlessly can move right into the next chapter and then go there. And then it really, the way it works out, I never run out, because I'm always, as one scene is unfolding, I'm thinking in my head of how that's going to lead. What are the repercussions down the road? How's this person going to suffer? How are they going to benefit this character? And then I'm constantly writing that down. So I constantly have always 3, 4, 5 chapters outlined ahead. But like I said, I can't ever sit down and do it all ahead of time. It's kind of like an unfolding movie.
Yeah, I love hearing the processes of different authors. You have some that are similar, but everybody is different. They might be similar generally, but there's always some differences. So that's really cool. That's a true artist, though.
I agree.
You have artists that their style might be similar, but there's always some kind of twist in their art that it's them.
Yeah.
So I love that. And so this process has led you to having some experience with publishers, and you've had to deal with some of the twists and turns of being an accomplished author. Any tips or advice that you could kind of offer to new writers out there?
Be diligent. If you're dealing with publishing companies, I would say, do your homework. Do your homework twice.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 times.
Every single contract you get. I'll just say this. If you have a contract in writing and you discuss additional stuff in phone calls or emails, make sure that all those additional things are included in the contract.
Yeah.
Because if it's not in the contract, it did not happen. And
that's a great point.
Yeah. It could be a verbal agreement on the phone, but if it's not in that contract, it doesn't have to be honored.
Yeah, I guess to add to your point, I have also heard of stories where, there are indie authors and there are published authors. And I've heard stories where, people really want to be a published author and they sign up with a publisher, and then all the publisher does is put stuff on Amazon and put it on, Barnes and Noble or Apple Books, and help find out cover artists, all these things that you could really just do as your own self as an author with very little work very little research. So
yeah. Did you start as an indie author?
Yes.
You did, Scott. Okay.
And I experienced exactly what Dan just said.
Yeah.
There was nothing. Now the funny thing is I've always been approached pretty quickly after I released On Ice. A lot of independent, smaller level publishing companies started to approach me, and it was kind of interesting, and I didn't know anything about it. But there was one thing. I met somebody early on at an author event in Orlando, and they told me the one thing to remember above all else when dealing with publishing companies is if they want money from you, they're not legit.
Yeah.
Walk away.
Yeah.
Just stay away. And so I always remembered that. And
that's a great tip.
Yeah, and I always looked for that catch, and it would always eventually come. You know, they try as long as they can, and so you keep that in mind. And then I started talking to a lot of mid-level places and stuff. But I started out indie, and then this one company came along, and everything happened very, very quickly. They loved my stuff. I was sent a contract probably 48 hours after initial contact with them. It was crazy.
Wow.
And I knew this wasn't normal because I had talked to so many companies previously.
Yeah.
And, but what had happened was there was a lot of discussion on the phone, and then there was a lot of stuff in the contract, and the two didn't mesh. And really, it was my own fault. I can't blame anybody but myself. The things that were discussed on the side were not included in the contract, and that was me, and it was I wasn't happy with it. But if they want money, they're not real.
Yeah,
and make sure that everything is included in there. But like I said, they did exactly what I'd done myself. Nothing in addition.
Yeah, right. And the other thing is, I would think that as a new author, even an established author, if you've been an indie author, when a publisher comes to you that quickly and wants to sign you up, it's exciting. You're like, this is it. This is my break. Yeah. And you might not be seeing as clearly as if you could take your time with it. So I don't know if you had a lawyer look over your contract, but I think that would be something that you would need to invest in. Yeah.
I would always, I did not. I had a couple people very close to me who were very intelligent, looking over things, and it was kind of an exciting time for all of us. And
of course,
so we all missed it. But I would definitely advise people to not only have an attorney look it over, but explain to them everything that you've been told, any promises made, or what have you that are not in the writing, and have them get it included.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. Because if it's not in there, it doesn't have to be enforced. And that's the same.
Yeah. And even if somebody is very, very well worded and educated, there's a different language when it comes to contracts, right? That people that have studied law know, because there's certain way that things can be worded.
Sure.
So I think that would be, even me not being an author or anything like that, I think that would be the advice I would give somebody. It's just, pay a little bit of money. It's an investment in yourself and in your company as an author. So
it's funny because there's so many people that I know, fellow authors, and they come to me for advice because they know the things that I've dealt with and things I've done. They come to me for advice. It's so much easier for me to tell them as an outsider what to look for and what to do. And then when it came my time for that, I failed.
Yeah.
Some of those.
I said, though, it was just the excitement. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just, it's like somebody, you feel like that publishing company saw what you see in your story. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just, I think it's like kids who sign contracts when they're musicians, when they're younger, and then they're pretty much owned for the majority of their career because they didn't read, they didn't think about that.
I was very lucky. I had to work very hard at it, but I was able to get out of my contract. It was not easy, and it didn't come without a battle, but I finally got all my rights back.
Yeah, see, these are good cautionary tales for would-be authors and even independent authors like myself, because my goal is to find a publisher. I've been indie publishing my books up until now, but the books I'm writing now, I want to get a publisher. But stories like yours will make me very cautious about which one I select. And I love that. It probably seems so simple, but if they want money, it's not a real publisher. It's not the one you're after. That's a great one because, we've known kids that have been reached out to by modeling agencies and they'd say, oh, we saw your Instagram and we really want you to do our brand. And then they want money. It's scams left and right. If a company really wants you, they're going to make money from you, not ask you for money.
And that's a perfect example. It doesn't apply just to books.
Yeah.
It's anything. If somebody comes and they want to represent you, they want to publish your stuff, they want to be your management, be your agent.
Sure.
You shouldn't have to give them money up front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do, walk away right at that point.
Makes total sense.
That's right. So, Scott, you have quite a few celebrities that really love your books. And some of them, celebrities are in the wrestling community, I believe.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about this? And, how did this, how did we meet up? Like, how did you meet these wrestlers? Were you involved somehow? Tell us a little bit of that story.
I was researching something a while back. I can't for the life of me remember what it was, but I came across Brian Blair's website online. B. Brian Blair. He's in the famous Killer Bees tag team back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, he probably knows the information that I'm looking for. So I sent an email to him through his website, and I fully didn't expect, a response. I kept looking for whatever it was.
Now, do you remember if this was a story? Was this a plot point in a story, or do you remember?
No, I think it was something personal I was looking for.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I thought maybe he might know a path to send me down, or for what I don't even remember what it was.
Right.
But I didn't expect an answer, because I didn't know him, he didn't know me. Not only did he answer, but we talked on the phone a couple of days later, and we got along great and became like instant friends. It was
nice.
Cool.
Yeah, and then it turned out his wife was a fan of my books, so that was cool.
Oh wow!
Small world, isn't it?
Yeah. The wrestlers do a thing. It's called Legends Lunch that they do 4 times a year in Tampa. And it's all the legends in the area. They get together. They catch up and share stories with it. It's really funny, and it's a fun time. Brian invited me to one, and I got to meet so many people. And through that, I made a lot of friends. And then through becoming friends on Facebook with those people I met in real life, then others I became friends with based on my friendship with them, and it just took off. It was really crazy. I mean, I know so many of the legends now, and a lot of them like to read because they still travel a lot, doing Comic-Cons and conventions and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun.
And a lot of people don't know. Well, maybe a lot of people do know that about Florida, but Florida is a big state for like the training for the
Wrestlers?
WWE. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like is WWE? Did I get it right?
Scott could tell you
Scott
probably.
can tell you. Yeah. Yeah. So there's one in Orlando. Tampa is a big area. So they do a lot of their training down here. And Hulk Hogan lived in Tampa area, didn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He lives.
Oh, he did. He lived in Clearwater. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He a lot of the legends live in the Tampa area. There was back in the day, 60s, 70s, and 80s. The Tampa area was, like you said, a big training ground, and a lot of these guys got their start in the Tampa area and then moved up to the bigger organizations. And I mean, who doesn't love Florida? So a lot of them just stayed or came back when their career was finished. But yeah, there's a ton of people who live in the Tampa area.
You know, it's funny. I don't know that much about wrestling. I think it's super cool that you have these celebrities now that are fans of your books, and I've seen some of them and some of the video clips where they're holding and talking about your book or talking about which one they like the best. And I think it's very cool.
That's cool.
When I was younger, significantly younger, I had a stint where I was kind of into wrestling. I'm trying to remember some of the names, but I remember like some of the classics, like Dusty Rhodes or Randy Savage or what's the guy's name? Gordon, the guy who used to be the newscaster guy. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Gordon Soley.
Gordon Soley, that's right. He was the one that did I think this was before wrestling had like a huge boom and took off. But I remember some of those classic wrestlers. Kevin Sullivan was another one that comes to mind. But I remember watching those guys every weekend.
That's how it is when I go to the Legends Luncheon. And I mean, I've had so many interactions outside of that with them because I've become friends with them now.
Yeah.
It's still, I go to lunch with Brian, or I went, to lunch several times with Rocky Johnson before he passed. And,
yeah.
I mean, these, I'd sit there and I'd be talking to him, and I watched him on TV when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And these things, and, I walked one of a funny story that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I don't know, he was NWA champion and Intercontinental champion.
Wow.
He was being honored at one of the Legends luncheons that they were in. And I walked in, he was sitting at a table facing the entrance. I walked in, he looked at me, he pointed and waved. I had never met him before. So I went over to the table and he says, "I know who you are." And I said, "Well, I know who you are." And that was just so cool.
That is cool.
That he said it first is what's really cool, right?
Yeah, it was really cool. And, we had a great conversation. He was a really nice guy. And, I had never met him before. So it was that was, but I watched all his matches,
That is cool.
A lot of the guys, and I've been like, there's a guy named Bob Roop. He's a legend. He has a book coming out soon. I got to be friends with him, and he called me, and I consulted him on getting his book ready to prepared for release. And
oh, nice.
I mean, it's so cool. I still have to pinch myself sometimes, because I feel like I don't belong.
Like childhood heroes, or I get it. Well, so that leads me into my next question. Your latest novel, Squared Circle, Full Circle, I'm Joe Cool and You're Not. That's a wrestling biography, right?
Yes.
So how did this one come to be?
That one, I do a lot of charity work.
Oh, nice.
With cancer, battered women, pets. I'm all for. And
awesome.
There is an event every year held. It's called Fighting for a Cure, and Joe Abel puts on that event, and he donates 100% of the proceeds to the American Cancer Society every year.
Love it.
And,
Love it.
He was a couple of friends of mine in the wrestling world, Bob Cook and Darlene, his manager. They were going to the event. I saw them posting about it, and I asked them if I could donate some books to be raffled off, or what was the procedure that they do. And I think it was Darlene gave me Joe's information, and I contacted him, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I don't turn down anything that we can raffle off, for the money." So he said, "Why don't you bring the books down yourself instead of sending them?" So I went to the match. That was so cool. We sat right at ringside, and we had a bunch of books. And after the event, I talked to Joe for quite a long time, and he was telling me that many years ago he had started writing a book, but a computer crash led to him losing all the information.
Oh God!
What would I be interested in? And was it possible, to do something like that? And I do thrillers in fiction, so it was something really, really different for me.
It was a challenge.
It was very much a challenge, because I had to, when I do a fiction, if I don't like it, I can just scrap the whole thing and start over.
Right.
Yeah.
With a true story, you can't do that.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to take the story and you have to write it in a way where I hope that it's entertaining and comes across as people won't be bored, doing it. And I mean, the results have been fantastic for it.
Oh, have they? That's great.
Oh yeah, it was a Amazon #1 bestseller.
Oh wow!
Twice, yeah, and it reached #4 in the United Kingdom. I have a big following in the UK, and it's been phenomenal. I mean, it was really cool, and it was a lot of fun to do it, because I got to sit down with Joe. I think we got together 3 times. And did I don't know how many hours of interviews, and we just basically chronologically went through his life, and I just took his words after we finished all the interviews and just put them into thing, and then the back and forth with me and him, where I write it and I'll send it, and he's like, "No, we got to change this," or it's
Wow.
very, very tedious process, even more so than doing a fiction, because it's true, and you have to make sure that everything is accurate. So there's a lot of checking too.
I was going to say, and also when you kind of co-author with somebody else, because he's kind of you know, he's not writing it, but he's telling the story.
Right.
So I do know that we've talked to Clark Lewis. Oh God. One of the authors we talked to, he's going to kill me for not knowing his name.
I don't know who you're speaking of.
S. Clark.
Oh, yes.
Gosh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, so he had a story where he was doing like a co-authoring thing. So it can be challenging, definitely doing the back and forth.
Sure. That was an instance of ghostwriting. And so that's very similar in that someone's writing a lot of the stuff that is your story. And to me, that's the same thing as a biography.
Yeah,
and
it seems challenging.
I
definitely.
could see that being a lot of work, but wow, how fulfilling that must be to have such success with it.
Yeah, it was over a year the project took. And of course, then COVID hit and that made things harder.
Sure.
Of course.
And because Joe lives in Sarasota. So I live in Newport Richie. So he came up to my house 3 different times, I think. But it was to have it accepted the way it was. And we did a lot of promoting ahead of time. And that was right about the time that I split from my publishing company. So
that was like really challenging. Like,
yes.
Wow.
I had that going on at the same time, and I was not planning on publishing this myself, and then suddenly it was all in my lap.
Yeah,
so, I had to do that, and it was a very frustrating experience to have suddenly be thrown into the fire like that. But
and needing to do all the research to make sure that you're doing it right, and
I basically had to do everything twice because I put together like the marketing plan and all that stuff to submit to them. And then that wasn't going to happen. So then I had to do another one.
Oh gosh.
That was going to be different because we were doing it on our own and there was things that I wanted to do. So it added a lot of work. So it was very nice when I think the night that it was released, it hit #1, I think at 4:00 in the afternoon. And
that's
goodness.
amazing.
That is amazing.
It was so awesome when you refresh that page and you see that #1.
It keeps just climbing.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. Now, leading up, so tell me what kind of things you did, like leading up for like promoting and marketing it, like because you took all that on yourself. So was that a lot of traveling? Was it just social media marketing? Like, how did you accomplish all that?
It was all done from my desk. I did
because this was during COVID, so right, so you had to kind of turn to that.
Yeah, I think it came out. I think September. I think it was. What I did was in this particular case, it was wrestling. So what I did was I went and I found every single wrestling website imaginable, and I contacted every single one of them. As a matter of fact, we just had a great review one up, I think 2 days ago, on the Slam Wrestling website, which is one of the biggest news sites. They just put up a great review of the book.
Awesome!
Friday, I think it was. Yeah. So I contacted every single anything that had to do with wrestling that I could find online to find out if they were interested in doing a review or a feature or something. If nothing else, just getting the name of the book to them. And then, of course, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, every those social medias, Instagram, just nonstop promoting. And Joe, being a promoter during his wrestling days, he knew about promoting. So we would get together and come up with marketing plans for him to do on his own. So it was a lot of work, and we worked really hard on it. So the results were very nice. But
that's awesome.
The research, though, was, hours on end.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Yeah, but sadly, 90% of who we contacted never responded.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So you were just kind of like,
it's a shotgun approach. You have to do that. But what I love about it is you knew exactly who your target audience was for this one and the channels to reach them, because I think that's a challenge sometimes when you're doing like fiction. Your target audience can be everywhere, but when you're writing a book about wrestling, you at least know who your demographic is, right?
Well, not only that, but see, in Joe's case, Joe never made it to WWE, or he never made it to the NWA or AWA or AEW.
Yeah.
He was always one step below that. So again, like you said, target. You have to know your target audience.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of wrestling fans know. Anybody who's a wrestling fan knows a lot of the people who are mentioned in the book because Joe came across everybody. But there was a lot of people on the independent level that someone in California may not know. So I had to target a lot of independent wrestling organizations as well for promotion and consideration for being featured on their website and stuff like that, because those are the types of organizations that Joe dealt with for many, many years. And a lot of guys on their way up go through them, and then on their way down, they go through them. So the book is filled with a lot of superstars who you would know their names, and then people on the independent level who you may not know. But that's why I targeted those people too in the marketing plan.
That was really smart. And you probably learned a lot of marketing skills from Joe as well, because he was in that world for so many years. So that was kind of a great asset for you to have.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun talking to Joe when we were coming up with plans, and we always had animated conversations. Joe's a great guy. He's funny. We always have a good time when we're together, and he would have some ideas, and I'd say, well, maybe we put a spin on it like this way, and he'd be like, well, maybe we do that, but then we add this kind of twist into it. So, but yeah, between the two of us, the collaboration was a lot of fun, really.
So a lot of twists and turns in the marketing, kind of like in your thrillers.
Yeah. I will say that on my thrillers, all the marketing and everything, I pretty much do myself. And you know, Dan, it's a lot of work. And
that's why I want a publisher, because that part to me is, I mean, you're great at it, but that part is to me, that is the single most challenging thing about writing is having the time to write when you have a day job is already tricky, but then to promote you, I mean, that's another full-time job. So, it's
writing the book is the easiest part.
Yeah, I would agree. But so, that's a good segue though, because I do want to talk a little bit about your latest thriller, Deadly Roses, too. And it, I know that your latest novel is your latest book is the wrestling biography, but I did want to take a minute to talk a little bit about your latest thriller as well. And maybe you could tell our audience a little bit about what that story is about, what your inspiration for that story was, and, maybe a little tidbit without ruining it.
Deadly Roses was, like I said, when we started, it was so much fun because it's set in New York City.
Right.
So I have intimate knowledge of the
city.
So I made sure that I included a lot of things. Like when I was a kid, I used to climb up on the roof of the building. People in Florida, they don't do that. They don't even know what you did. But in New York, that's a normal thing.
It's a common thing.
Yeah, you go up on the roof, you barbecue, you hang out. You
sure
things. So I incorporated that in the alleyways. I did learn something when I was a kid. There was always a lot of alleyways between buildings that you see portrayed in movies and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
During my research for Deadly Roses on streets and stuff like that I couldn't remember, I found out there's only one alleyway left in New York City that did away with them.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, how did they do away with them? I don't understand how they could do that.
They filled them in. I don't know, but I know that there was only one still labeled, and it actually had a name. So I incorporated it into the story.
Interesting.
I wonder if it just became too
a hiding place for crime or
Oh yeah, there was
transients or they're probably trying to keep down
easy
on that.
to hide in there.
Yeah,
they did a lot of small businesses that they could fit and they could build in between, or I'm not really sure how they did it, but
it's really cool. They probably did. You got to squeeze every piece of real estate out of it that you can,
for sure. But I know your intimate knowledge, as you spoke in the beginning of the interview here, of New York City, because you grew up there, as you mentioned now as well. Did you kind of have an idea for the story and say, wow, this would be perfect in New York City? Or was it always going to be in New York City?
Good
yeah,
question.
no, it was always going to be in New York City.
It was.
The story, it's about domestic violence, and it kind of brings attention to it. It's one of my reviewers came up with the tagline. It's a love triangle a love triangle thriller with a twist, and so it brings some attention to domestic violence, and it's there's a lot of gang. One of the main characters is the leader of a gang, so I had to do a lot of research to get the language and the slang accurate with that. And I'm trying not to give anything away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dan will magically erase it if you do. But it's hard sometimes too, especially depending on how you write. It's hard sometimes to give a synopsis of your book to make it exciting, to sound exciting for somebody to read without giving something away. That's what we have found. It's like, how do you tell people about it without giving something away?
That one paragraph or two paragraphs is very hard to come up with. And same problem here. I think it said, I don't want to guess. I know it ended with there's the tagline on the cover is when two becomes three, someone's got to go.
That's right. Yeah, I'm reading it right here. Yeah, that gives you enough. With the name of its Deadly Roses, the cover kind of shows some of what might be going on.
The chalk line.
Yep. So I think that you kind of give an idea of, okay, this might be like a love triangle type thing. So I think that's perfect.
That is, but you have a great point there, Angie. That to me is one of the biggest challenges because for every book that I have really loved or movie that has been one of my favorites, I kind of didn't really know anything about it going in. So, but how do you sell a book to someone with just, you can't just say, read this. I can't tell you what it's about. So that is the challenge, right? Because if you're a reader, which you probably are, if you're a writer, you have a tendency to kind of project the way things are going to go based on the synopsis. If it's too detailed, it kind of ruins it, right? So, I can appreciate that.
My synopsis, and I'm trying to remember what it says, and I can't. But I know the ending says something about there's a new when an abusive boyfriend is replaced by something. I know. I remember now. I'm sorry. You can edit that out. It said, you've heard the saying, girl meets boy, girl falls in love with boy. Now you can add girl's gang leader boyfriend doesn't appreciate the new addition.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
That's, I would suppose he wouldn't.
That gives it off where there's gangs involved. There's a relationship involved. There's obviously some kind of anger. Or in there without giving it away.
Yeah.
A little bit of violence, probably.
Yeah. It's got, well, to make it, like I said before, when I watch a movie and I see something that's not realistic, I immediately get turned off. So I work really hard on that in my stories to be authentic. There's one pretty violent scene. I mean, a thriller has to have, action.
It does.
Thriller, people die.
Yeah.
Like
of course.
On the run. There's one scene. A fan of mine contacted me recently. Just finished On the Run, and he was laughing. He goes, "Oh my God, there's a scene in a hotel in Cabo San Lucas." He goes, "I cannot believe he did that. I did not see that coming. That was so awesome." It wasn't.
Oh, that's what you love, though.
Yeah. It was. It wasn't that violent. I mean, she died.
But
there's a scene in Deadly Roses in order to get across the abusiveness of the relationship. I had to do something to really get across to how bad this guy was.
Of course.
So there was a violent scene kind of in the middle. We're doing the audiobook right now. I just listened to it the other day. I think it's chapter 10 or something like that. But it really gets across what a bad guy editing.
Yeah. Like what level he'll go to for whatever. Yeah, that's great.
Get away from him. So
that's great character development. Yep.
Right. But the danger that the new guy coming in faces from him because of his anger issues.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned On the Run, and I'm not sure if you can talk about this, but is that currently being shopped around to be made into a movie or? Yeah,
we have a script. We had a plan in place about a year ago, and it kind of all fell apart. We had a script done by actually a friend of mine and Dan's, Jaimie Engle, and her writing partner, Osmond Brown. They took the On the Run story and adapted it into a fantastic screenplay.
Cool.
They even added a character that just made the story even better. It was really cool. And so yeah, right now it's in the hands right now of two production companies who are looking at it, and hopefully we're still waiting. Final word. Actually, I need to call one of them today.
Awesome.
And if nothing comes out of those, we have 4 more companies ready to pitch to. So
that is the coolest.
That's the dream right there, right? Like to have your book into a movie.
Yeah.
It's like that is pretty awesome.
And it's such a great story. I mean, it's perfect for a movie. All my books are perfect for movies because they unfold in my head as a movie.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The adaptation to it to on screen should be fairly simple, but On the Run, it starts in Miami, it ends in Cabo San Lucas. The chase goes all across the country.
So it's literally a book about being on the run.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's very vibrant with the colors, the tropical locations, and of course, money's involved, drugs are involved, and Cuban drug cartel is involved. So it has everything that you would want, or that I would want as a movie buff.
Yeah. So guys, if you're looking at purchasing any of Scott's books, older readers probably.
Yeah. Sure.
Older readers. Yeah.
Yeah. Not kids' books, but yes. Young adult.
We
all the
like
way
to
up.
mention that sometimes because I think we've had where if somebody ordered a book and you're like, there's a scene in there that a 13-year-old should not be reading.
I would say they're R-rated. They're not X-rated, but they're R-rated.
Yeah, R-rated. Yeah. Okay.
Which to me means young adult, depending on your parenting or whatever, but young adult on up. Yeah. I don't dismiss the young adults because sometimes I will say this book is not for young adults, but then you remember that, like my books, they kind of are actually. I mean, they're reading stuff like that. A lot of young adults.
Yeah,
so,
I guess they are. Yeah.
Depending on the age.
Language. I have the language in all of them because for authenticity.
Sure.
Twister Town is the only book I've written. There's not a swear in that book, in that story. I don't know how it happened, but I really don't. I mean,
that's how it was meant to be, though. That's how it was playing out in your. This must have been a wholesome town you were in. See, like a wholesome town where people thought they are special, and twisters do not come and get them.
I'll tell you what. If I saw the tornado that they saw coming at them, I'd be swearing.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know how I did the whole story. I think the worst word is one time.
Oh my gosh! You know what's so funny about that book? I want to read that book. It's so funny because my mom, for years, until she was an adult, believed that tornadoes did not come out at night because her mother taught her that
to make her feel safe.
She did not think they came out at night.
Wow.
And then I will never forget, I grew up in Michigan and we lived in a trailer park and a tornado wiped out the trailer park next to us. I'm talking.
Oh my gosh.
It was the scariest thing because
I did not know this story.
Yeah, there was a retention pond next to us that we were going to go get down in, and it was filled up with water. So my dad had to punch the window out of the clubhouse that was made of brick because they weren't letting people. They didn't come to let anybody in there.
Yeah,
and we crawled into the clubhouse. So there's a good story for your books.
There's a good scene for sure.
The thing that I'm proud of about Twister Town is that number one, it was an international bestseller, which was shocking. As my second book, I totally didn't expect that. It's an award winner, which again, didn't expect. But the reviews from people who have actually lived in Tornado Alley and been through tornadoes and been in these towns, the reviews have been fantastic of them confirming what I wrote and saying it nails small Midwestern town atmosphere, nails the mindset, nails what it's like to go through a tornado. I had to do a lot of research to make sure that I got all the facts right in that one.
Yeah.
So to have people who've actually been through tornadoes and lived in those towns say that the book is dead on, that's a good feeling.
That's a great compliment too.
Oh,
Shows
no
that you really did your research, like you said. So that's awesome. So Scott, what's next? What's coming up next?
I have a new thriller that I've been talking about for quite a while. It's called 30 Minutes. It's a political thriller. It should be out next year, probably mid to late next year. Right now, it's 3/4 of the way done. I've kind of put it on the back burner because we're doing the audiobooks for Twister Town, On the Run, and Deadly Roses right now. On the Run and Twister Town are actually finished. They're complete. They're awesome. We're just waiting on Audible to release them. And Deadly Roses is probably about halfway through the production. So I've been focusing on that for the last several months.
All right. Very
Well, you
cool.
are a busy man. I mean, you are just generating the stories and working on all the different versions of them. That's very impressive.
So what I didn't ask is, which we usually ask all of our authors, because almost all of the authors we've interviewed have a day job. Do you do this full time, or do you have a day job as well?
Yeah, pretty much full time.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. So your focus gets to be on what your true passion is.
And it's, and it's because, one of my favorite sayings is, if I don't, nobody will.
I like it. Yeah, it's true.
People like in Goodreads, I get yelled at all the time because I put I'll put a post in the wrong thread by accident because I get so confused on there all the time, and they're like, "Why do you?"
It's like Reddit. It's like Reddit. The rules are so crazy. It's like, whatever.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, and they're like, "Well, why would you do that?" And I said, "Because if I don't post it, no one else is going to."
Yeah,
like that.
Well, so I'm going to actually put a link to your Goodreads as well, taking a quick note here. Scott, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us. This has been very interesting and entertaining, and we wish you much success in the future. I'm sure it sounds like, you've got it lined up for sure.
I thank you guys for having me, and it's been fun. And I know we've been talking about doing it for a while, and I so much like doing the things like the workshops that we were doing with Jaimie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so do I. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, and those things actually give me more to do because I get ideas from doing them, and it's hard to try and keep it all together. Sometimes I have a list on my desk of things I want to do and things that are coming up, and it's and interviews I want to start doing more interviews. That's one of the things I wanted to do, especially again, no one's going to talk about me unless I'm talking about myself.
That's right. Well, anybody listening, Scott is available for interviews. So if you have a podcast, that's right.
Virtuals. Now that virtual is a big thing in the world now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, that's a great goal. And there's not enough time in the day neither. So I'm sure you're like Dan, your list goes over to the next day, and then you got to check those things off to the next day. I'm so bad about that. And
the day of the list, I just took a week off of my day job, and I had a list that I kept chipping away at of stuff I wanted to do throughout the week, and then add more stuff in. And I think I got a list of maybe 15 down to 8 because it's got so much other stuff added. So I can relate.
Oh, and I know how much work goes into a podcast just from the live show that I did. I've done a few live appearances, and I know what it takes, for preparation of that. So doing a podcast like that and the post editing that goes along with it. I mean, I feel for you guys because I know how much work it goes in.
Well, I just show up.
You're the talent. You're the talent.
I just show up and smile and laugh a lot, and then he has to do all the he has to do all the hard work. I mean, I do help on the website and stuff.
Yeah, you do. So, I'm totally kidding.
But no, he really does do all the technical stuff. I mean, I asked him to show me how to do it, but when you live with somebody that's very OCD about things.
All right, whatever. Just say it. Just say it.
I'll say
you can't. I wouldn't be able to do it as good.
I'll say this, and if you don't want this in, Dan, you can take it out in post-production. But I want to tell everybody out there, if you are friends with Dan, which I am, anytime that I have a question about new technology or something going on, Dan is one of the first I turn to. He never lets me down. He gives me all the options available.
Thank you.
I very much appreciate that. And if you're friends with him now, if you don't know him,
come on, people. I'm going to put a limit on this. I'm telling you.
If you don't know him, there's a fee for that. No, just kidding.
There is a fee. But you know what, though? He does get, it's kind of like if you fix cars for a living and then your family member goes to, I don't know, Pet Boys to get their car fixed. So they do something wrong, right? Come to the person that you know so that you get the right advice before going to purchase a piece of technology or something like that. Like,
perfect example. A few weeks ago, Mick Foley, the Hall of Fame wrestler, has a project that he's debating on doing, and he called me up to ask me about my experience with a certain company and what to look for and what not to look for and stuff like that. That was awesome. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Just getting the call, yeah.
That was cool. And yeah, so you go to the people who
Mm-hmm.
have the experience, and because if you want your car fixed or you want advice on your car, you're not going to ask your plumber.
Sure.
That's right.
Some people will.
I mean, it might not get the greatest advice, though.
Well, thank you guys for the kind words. I appreciate it. So as we're wrapping up, Scott, we will definitely stay in touch with you. I hope we get back to doing those author workshops sooner or later.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that too. We will be promoting you throughout our show. And like I said, we wish you continued success. We'll put all the link in the show notes to everything you discussed. And I'm excited to kind of keep in touch on what's going on with that movie thing too, because that is incredibly exciting to me. Very happy for you.
I do too. And I wish you guys success with the show too. And
thank you.
Thank you.
I would say about the movies, don't hold your breath, because in that business, I'm learning quickly that
of course,
nothing happens quickly.
You know what, though? It doesnh matter. It's exciting as a kid.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, no matter how long it takes, it's just an exciting thing, a position to be in general.
And you know how. Oh, I'm sorry. You know how.
Say that a production company has it in their possession.
That's right.
Yeah.
That somebody else has read your work. That's what I was thinking. Like they took the time to sit down and read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you never know, in 5 years, in 10 years, who knows?
Yeah.
Even if it don't happen now, they might say, hey, there was this story and it might happen. So, you know what I mean? You got not wishful thinking, but just thinking, keeping that positive thought out there.
People who have had their books adapted into movies and television shows. And normally it's 7 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, On the Run, I'm looking at 2 years, going on 3 years right now. So that's a little bit early in the process, but hope fingers crossed.
Yeah,
that's
no
right.
kidding.
Well, we send our positive thoughts your way, man.
For sure. Hey guys, I hate to interrupt the show here, but we just got some breaking news, maybe within a couple of hours of doing the podcast, as it relates to Scott and the On the Run book we talked about that he had in discussions with a production company. Iron Castle Films has reached out to Scott, and they've read the script for On the Run, and they love it, and they want to proceed with creating this, this book into a movie. So Scott can't say anything else at this point. We don't know anything else at this point, but very exciting. Looks like, they are well on their way to making this into a movie. And just wanted to say big congratulations to Scott. Congratulations to Jaimie Engle, to Austin Brown, and everyone else involved in the project. So we will let you guys know as we hear more, but it's very exciting that, just as we spoke about the possibility of something like that, boom, it happened. At least the first hurdle, I guess, to get over in a path to get this book made into a movie. So very exciting. All right, back to the show. All right, Scott. Well, thanks again. We're going to take a quick break on the show, and then Angie and I'll be right back after a quick break. Thank you again, Scott, and we'll be in touch. Take care.
Thank you.
Everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed that interview with local author Scott Stevens. We wish him much success. Seems like he's had quite a bit of that already.
Oh, he's doing so well. I love it. I'm so happy for him. Seems like he's put a lot of work in and still does, and got a lot of irons in the fire.
And I just love how he's kind of reached out to people in his community, and now he has, a certain group that really support his work and some great contacts. And I think it's, going to go very well for him in the future. We'll look out for that movie.
Oh, indeed. Yes.
Yeah. So, guys, it is almost Thanksgiving. And you know what the day after Thanksgiving is? Black Friday, when everybody starts thinking about shopping.
Oh, yes.
And then Saturday is Shop Small Saturday, where you're supposed to support your local small businesses and do some Christmas shopping there.
Especially now more than ever.
It is now more than ever. It's so important. So you know that we are doing the Shop Small this holiday season event. And I don't know if a lot of people will be doing Christmas parties and stuff, but we still want to dress up for like Christmas or even,
course.
Like get something nice. So we have a local boutique,
Local boutique.
tie it up with a bow. We have a local boutique. Did I say it right that time?
You did say it right.
Okay. Here in Apopka called Wynn Styles Boutique. And they offer some great ladies apparel. So if you're looking for the perfect little Christmas or dress up outfit, I suggest heading on over to Wynn Styles, and they are offering 20% off your purchase if you use the code or discount code Danji, all capitals.
Love it.
So check it out. I already have my eye on an outfit. I actually have it pulled up right here in front of me for my Christmas party for work or my Christmas dinner that they're having.
Very nice. I'll pull that up on screen here when for the YouTube video.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. And somebody else that we love to support, they are having all sorts of sales. There's not a discount code involved, but if you're looking for your perfect ugly Christmas sweater or Christmas apparel, like those cool suits or just accessories, then head to Embellish FX in Orlando.
Yes.
So when we think of Embellish FX, we think of them for Halloween stuff.
Yep.
But guys, they're open all year round. And they have costume stuff for every holiday that you can think of.
Really do. Local business. The owners are amazing. The staff are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only place we shop for anything like that anymore. The quality of the stuff too. We're used to going to like Spirit for Halloween. Their quality stuff is so much better. The fact that they have the Christmas stuff.
They do.
Is so great.
Yeah, they have like Santa suits and everything that you can think of. I mean, even for like Valentine's Day coming up and St. Patty's Day coming up. So they are an all year shop.
Yep.
And especially if you do like any theater or anything, they have top of the line quality theater makeup and prosthetics and all sorts of stuff like that. So we love the owners, Ben and Tim, and just the whole staff there is amazing, super helpful, friendly. Like they go over the top with customer service. So you don't get that in any other location.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But yeah, they have some fabulous ugly sweaters and just all sorts of fun
You
stuff.
can even dress
Christmas.
up as a Christmas tree.
You can. Or Ebenezer Scrooge, with the big tall hat. I mean, it's amazing. Kind of. It's a fun little shop.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Definitely you can, the shop is open, but you can also check them out at embellishfx.com.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. So
that's it. Short and sweet today, baby.
Yeah, short and sweet. We ran a bit long in the interview with Scott, but it was so interesting. We kind of had to keep talking. We want to thank you guys, as always, for joining. We're very excited for a local charity that we will be meeting with next week. But, I'll leave that a little more vague so you guys will tune in and see it. We also want to ask you that if you enjoy the show, to please give us a rating and a review. And if you really enjoy the show, consider subscribing on your favorite podcast app.
That's right, guys. And if you want to give us a ring or say anything to us, you can actually email us at feedback@fineanddangy.com or give us a call at 407-490-3899. Leave us a voicemail. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. And guys, you can always check us out on any of our social media at Fine and Dangy.
That's right. You can also email us at feedback@fineanddangy.com.
Mm-hmm. And everybody, we hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving this week. Take a moment and reflect on what you're thankful for in this world and enjoy your time with family and friends or whatever it is you may be doing.
Yes.
And remember, at the end of each and every day, it's all fine and dandy. And guys, we hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
I was still doing this. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Don't start with me.